What's up, guys? Big Papa Drock back with another Raid Shadow Legends video. And I think this is the first video that I've made for the new year. So happy 2024, guys. We're in a new year. Happy New Year. New year, new raid, hopefully. Same Drock? I don't know. We'll see. But I hope you all had a wonderful holiday season, a phenomenal new year. I had a very good time, chilled, nothing crazy. And now we're back grinding live arena and we're back making content, baby. So first Drock video of 2024. And I figured, why not? Why not? It's time. A couple people have asked for it. Let's take a look at our boy SIEGFRUND and the Nephilim, another mythical champion that I just so happen to have a +2 version of. And I was like, you know what? We got to do a showcase. We got to see what this guy is capable of, because I'll be honest, on paper, like, his abilities look decent, but the couple times I've tried to use him, I've been really underwhelmed. So let's get an idea of exactly what he does and maybe some ideas on how to improve him. But from a character model standpoint, looks pretty chill in the first form. Let's take a look at the second form. Oh, baby. The Angel of Fire or something. I don't know. He looks sick. He's a Nephilim. I don't know what that means. I can't remember. But he looks awesome, so we love that. I've got him in some lethal gear here. But first, let's take a look at the skills of his first form. So, first form is the attack form. And before we get into this, I will say this. This is, I think, one of his biggest issues with his kit as opposed to a lot of the other mythicals. And that is his damage form is his first form, which means he gets locked out by people like Warlord, Yumiko, Crixia. Whereas other damage dealing mythicals like Goral or like Hierophant Lazarius do not. They are basically immune to getting locked out because their first form is not their main damage dealing form. And honestly, right off the bat, that's a major design flaw, in my opinion, with SIEGFRUND, because you're not going to be picking this guy to be a support. Most likely. Maybe you are. I don't know. I wouldn't. I would pick him to be a damage dealer. And the fact that his attack form is his first form is a really big mistake. So right away, big part of why I try not to pick SIEGFRUND most of the time is because he is so susceptible to lockout. And that's a bummer. And it's something that I really hope Plarium thinks about changing. And we'll talk about some other changes I think they need to make with his kit. But all right, let's get into the actual abilities. Excoriating Edge attacks one enemy 2 times. First hit transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target. Second hit then increases the duration of all debuffs on the target by 1 turn. I mean, for arena purposes, this is just all right, because typically you're not going to build a lot of defense, or excuse me, accuracy into your nukers most of the time, because if you're doing that, you're reducing their damage. So this is just okay. The one good thing about this is it is a 2-hitter, which is really nice to get around UDK, which is big. It also gets rid of your debuff. So let's say you had a decreased attack debuff on you, at least, even if it doesn't transfer, at least it's getting rid of it. That is useful. So that's the best part of that, I would say. Again, don't think you're going to build him necessarily with a bunch of accuracies. So just an okay A1, but nice that it's a 2-hitter. Let's take a look at the A2. Attacks all enemies. Seraphic Wave. Attacks all enemies. Each critical hit fills this champion's turn meter by 25%. Okay. Resets the cooldown of the Rage of the Nephilim skill if this attack kills an enemy. Resets the cooldown of all of this champion's skills if this attack kills 2 or more enemies. So on paper, this actually sounds pretty good. It's also on a 3-turn cooldown when booked. I mean, you could hypothetically hit somebody with this, hit 4 people, get your turn meter all the way back, drill them with Rage of the Nephilim, you know, kill some more people. Potentially, if you get some kills here, you're resetting abilities. On paper, this actually sounds like a pretty damn great ability. The one thing I'll note is you don't see any ignore defense on this, and that is like kind of a bummer a little bit, because it seems like most of the champions they're putting out right now that are really good nukers have some level of ignore defense built into their kit, or alternatively get some kind of boosted damage by like having buffs on them or stuff like that. Like Hierophant Lazarius gets increased damage just for having, you know, allies alive, as well as other stuff. Like if he has, I think, debuffs taken off him. So that's the one downside with this. Like, yes, you're getting your turn back, but you're not going to do as much damage as other abilities because you don't have that little extra oomph. A3, Rage the Nephilim, attacks one enemy, will attack all remaining enemies with any surplus damage if the initial target is killed. Fully heals this champion if the initial hit kills an enemy. So this is very similar to Baron's A1, where if he kills somebody with the A1, he's, you know, dumping the surplus damage on other people. Also kind of like, a little bit like Sung Wukong's A2, but again, we don't get increased ignore defense here. Like we're not getting the other stuff we need to increase the damage. Now, don't get me wrong, if somebody is low on health, if you hit somebody with this ability and they're low on health, you can potentially do a lot of damage. But the ability itself, from what I have seen, isn't like the hardest hitting ability for this version. Like when I think of really strong single target abilities, I'm thinking something like Georgian, something that goes through Stone Skin, that ignores defense and all this kind of stuff. This does none of that. This isn't going through Stone Skin. This isn't ignoring defense. This isn't, you know, ignoring shield or ally protection or any of that stuff. And because of those reasons, it kind of just seems a little underwhelming in my opinion. And again, we're going to test the damage and see, but just okay. Then he's got his ability to switch, of course. This is a little bit different though, because unlike other mythicals, he can't choose when to switch into his secondary form. I really feel like this was a champion they just didn't think through in a lot of ways when they put him into the game, because being able to switch forms is extremely important. And again, this is also why he is doubly susceptible to lockout as opposed to every other mythical, because you can't change forms until everybody else on your team is dead. He's basically worthless at that point in time. So I really don't know what they were thinking with the design of this champion in terms of this kind of stuff. It just is super underwhelming from a kit perspective when you look at people like Garal or Hierophant Lazarius, who just frankly outclass him in terms of their adaptability and the stuff they can do to counter other champions. Final passive, if this champion is about to get killed, to stay the blade, I should have said that. If this champion is about to get killed by a fatal hit, blocks incoming damage and places a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. Then heals this champion by 50% of their max HP and fills their turn meter by 100%. So that's pretty cool, right? Like you can't initially kill him right off the rip. That's a great passive. I'm a fan of that. I think that's great. Gives him turn meter, so he has a chance to survive. And the most important part of this is it blocks incoming damage before it places a block damage buff. So if Rotos hits you with this, he ain't going through it with his A3. He can't kill you off of that unless he gets extra turns, right? So that's actually a really good passive. I do like the passive a lot. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, so that's pretty helpful. Let's take a look at the support version of SIEGFRUND, the Nephilim. Okay, again, looks sick. Support, burning out, attacks all enemies, heals all allies by 20% of the damage inflicted. So again, like we're in support mode, and he's still kind of a damage champion, at least on that A1. Anytime you heal allies by damage, it usually isn't the best, especially for an attack-based nuker, in my opinion, who's now a support. I don't know. I'm sure the multiplier on this isn't very good. At least I would imagine. Removes Nephilic War, removes all debuffs from all allies. Okay, so you can cleanse. Then heals all allies by 30% of their max HP and places a block debuffs on them for 2 turns. All right, not bad, but here's the problem. When you're healing allies by 30% of their max HP, you're really not healing allies by that much unless they are allies with maximum large HP pools. But your nukers, they aren't gonna get a big heal out of this. And the reason why they did it like this is because, again, you've built this guy to be more of an attack guy most of the time. So he's not gonna have super high HP in his support form. Unlike other champions, he doesn't get a bonus to his support form for HP, or his attack doesn't scale his defense or whatever else. Another major flaw, in my opinion, with this champion, and something that they need to buff for sure. Nice to have a cleanse, nice to have a heal, but it's just not going to be super good. It's nice to get block debuffs, but again, it's a good ability. It's not a great ability. It's like good to decent would be how I look at it. Light of the Beyond revives all dead allies with 50% HP and 50% turn meter, then places a block damage buff on all allies except this champion for 1 turn. Great revive. That's awesome. Awesome. I wish it blocked damage on him as well, but still, that's a great revive. And man, if they would just put his support version first, think about how useful that would be, right? Like, okay, let's say he gets locked out, fine. You can switch into the damage mode. You're still able to knock champions out of the game. And then it gets down to just him and he can switch back. And now he has a res. So much better. Such a missed opportunity in my opinion. Because that's a good res. That's actually one of the better reses in the game to me. I think one of the hardest things when you have all people res, you know what I mean? Like a Duchess res is really good because it's hiding the people she reses. It's giving you the opportunity to keep them alive for a turn. Same with this. He's getting block damage. That's a great res. Just wish it were in his first form. And then finally, Shield of Defiance decreases damage taken from skills by 20%. So he does get a little bit of damage reduction here, but again, it's not super large. I think this is still less than some of the other mythicals have gotten overall, and still makes him really susceptible to getting absolutely worked in this form. And you do have the ability to change back into his base form from his secondary form. So I've got a +2 version we can see right here that's fully awakened. So super strong. I've put really good gear on him. I've also put Soul Reap on him. You could make an argument for Phantom Touch. You can make an argument for, you know, Cruelty, depending on what you're trying to do. It really just depends. But I went with Soul Reap because why not? I just felt like it. So let's take a look at how we've built him. Actually, let's take a look at masteries first. So masteries wise, pretty standard stuff. Nothing crazy. We've got Helm Smasher over here. We've got Kill Streak. And then we've got Cycle of Revenge, just trying to get back his turn a little bit faster, as well as a little Retribution for counterattacking. You can make an argument to put him in Whirlwind of Death over here as opposed to Ruthless Ambush. Just depends on the person. So maybe I would switch that. And then I think Cycle of Violence is always great. You could make an argument. Nah, I think this is still worth it because I was going to say he does, if he kills people, he does reset his skills, but this is still giving you a chance to lower the skill cooldown, even if he doesn't, which I think is kind of the meta right now. So that's how we've got him built for masteries. And now let's take a look at the actual artifacts. So like I said, we've got him in lethal set right now, and I've got him, I would say, in decent gear overall, pretty strong. Not my absolute best, but solid. Got crit rate, speed, and attack there. We got crit rate, some HP, some speed, some crit damage. We got crit rate. Now this is just okay. Double accuracy doesn't help him, unfortunately. Technically, I guess it does on the A1, but it's really not what you want. This is an ideal piece for him. It did ascend attack, as did all three of this, so that helps. We've got a little attack percentage boot. HP Ascension was a bummer. Crit rate, though, again, more accuracy. I built him with more accuracy than I intended to, funny enough. Attack percentage, triple crit rate roll. I wish this were something like Savage or Lethal. It came on a righteous piece of gear, but I'm not turning that down with triple crit rate. That's too good. And then we've got crit damage and attack percentage with speed. So overall, decent gear. Not my best, not my worst. Let's take a look at the accessories. Attack speed, crit damage with a crit damage ascension, and then attack with a triple attack roll. So a pretty good ring overall on him. All in all, this adds up in his first form. We'll take a look at first. He's rocking 8,500 attack, 213 speed, so not super fast. It's part of the problem, I think, with Live Arena with him. Even though he has really good base speed, I just haven't built him fast enough. 44k HP, so decent HP, 2,500 defense. You know, okay, not really super good from an attack perspective, so he's liable to get worked, though his passive helps him. And then 300% crit damage, 303 is not bad, and 170 accuracy. That's the base form. Take a look at the alternate form. So you can see he gains a little bit of HP. He gains a little bit of defense. But in the scheme of things, this is still pretty brittle. Like, this is not a super strong support. This is someone who's going to get absolutely decimated by any well-built nuker, even with his passive that reduces skill damage by 20%. So it's just... I just think he needs more in his secondary form. I think he needs more. He needs an ability to have a higher, you know, like more damage mitigation. I don't know, something else. Make his HP higher. It's just okay. It's not super good. And again, you're building him for attack because you can't even get into that form until until everyone else on your team is dead, and he has to have survived. That's the other thing too. So it's just not a well thought out champion from that perspective, which is really frustrating because I want to use him. I think he has a lot of potential. if his kit were just better worked. But let's see what he does damage-wise. Let's take him in. Let's do a little damage test. And let's see what our boy does in the dungeons. I've heard mixed things on him in terms of overall, like some people like him a lot. I think maybe for lower level arena. And then you've got me who's like, not super impressed. But I don't know. Let's see what he does damage-wise. All right. Standard damage setup. Realistic stuff. Nothing crazy. No GURP took. No goofy stuff. Let's get an actual assessment of what he can really do. So we will give him increased attack. Let's get the decreased defense and the weaken out from Lydia. And then we've got, let's roll with the Seraphic Wave first. And let's see what we got. Bam. 249, 256. Just okay, guys. Good nukers kill everything here. Good nukers wipe this. They do 300k damage typically. That's what a good nuker does. The cool thing is he got his turn again, right? So I think in PvE content, he is very usable for sure, especially faction wars, stuff like that. You can really do some crazy stuff with him, I think, in PvE. But he's meant to be an arena champ, and it's disappointing that he doesn't hit harder. Like, that is a disappointing result to me. If you're not clearing everybody here with increased attack and with like that kind of build, 8,500 attack and 300 crit damage, that's not a bad build. Like, that's a solid build. You should be killing everybody here. Let's take a look at the A3. Now, I'm just going to hit him once. Let's see. 406, so that's pretty solid. Still not Georgia levels. Obviously, we would have loved to have seen what it would do to everybody else afterwards. So let's replay again. And let's see if we can get a better sense of what that does if we get a kill. Just keep in mind, it's giving surplus bonus damage. We'll hit the same champion. Killed 299. Jesus Christ. We must have procced Helm Smasher on the last one. Oh man, that's really not that impressive. That's not gonna move the needle, man. That's not gonna get it done for a single target ability in today's raid. You know what I mean? Like 2 years ago, yeah, I'm jazzed. But right now, for a mythical champ who's +2, fully awakened, and built the way he is, to only hit for that, that's disappointing to me. That is a disappointing result. That absolutely affirms that he is not capable of doing the kind of damage that I need him to do, or that we want him to do in arena, again, for a higher level player. If you're in gold arena, he's going to be fine. You know what I mean? If you're in lower level live arena, probably not going to be a big deal. But if you're in the high level stuff, that's a disappointing result. And the fact that that ability doesn't go through Stone Skin, doesn't go through shield, doesn't ignore any type of defense, that sucks hard. Super, super disappointing result there. We'll do another A2 here just to get an idea. And then we'll finish off maybe with his A1. 183, 185. Oh, Christ. Yikes. Oh, this is confirming my suspicions. I had a suspicion that he wasn't that good just based off of what I've done with him overall. And yeah, I'm not going to lie. Like, none of this is impressive damage. The A1 doesn't hit super hard. The A2 doesn't hit super hard. The A3 doesn't hit super hard. You need nukers to knock people down. You need them to sit someone down right away, especially if they're a mythical champion, and he is not doing that. Damn, that is a bummer. That's a worse result than I expected. We'll do one more test here just to see, just out of curiosity. Different wave. Let's see if we can get this one and get the clear because she's lower on health. 232. Okay, so we got some good damage there because we were able to actually kill the champion. So again, if you can hit someone with the A3 and they are very close to dying, then yes, you can do some pretty impressive damage. But again, you have to get them really close to being knocked out. And he's not capable of doing the kind of damage you need to get there. You could argue maybe that you hit 4 critical hits with his A2, and that way you get a turn right away, right? And you can hit again, And maybe that helps get you there a little bit faster. But there's two problems that I look at when I look at that. First and foremost, reaction. If he is hitting somebody who has reaction, he's not getting a critical hit with that A2, which means he's not getting back to his second turn or his extra turn, essentially, because of that boosted turn meter mechanic. And then on top of it, I think you got to look at people like Taurus and Marichka. Like, that's when I look at champions now, my question is this a viable counter to the champions that have terrorized the game for the last freaking year? And the problem with Taurus and Marichka is, one, you're losing attack. He's an attack-based champion, so you're lowering your attack every time you hit Taurus, because Plarium refuses to fix this, but it's a whole different conversation. And then on top of that, you're also getting counterattacked and potentially stunned. And you're going to trigger that passive, which means he then loses that passive for the next 3 turns. I don't know. It just seems underwhelming to me. Let's take him against, see if we can find like a decent non-Taurus and Marichka team here. I hope I'm faster than this. I might not be, but let's find out. I've really stripped a lot of my stuff off of my Arbiter at this point. Let's take a look and let's see what he can do. So fingers crossed he's better in practice than he is in a dungeon. But on the whole, I'm super underwhelmed so far. For a mythical, like he's supposed to be, yeah, sure enough, not as fast, but thankfully we got around it. For a mythical, I just feel like he's supposed to be better. And I think we'll put it like this. I think we'll wipe this team. I don't think this is a super strong team, but this is also not what you're going to see in arena if you're pushing plat. You know what I mean? Like, this is not a plat team right here, in my opinion. They're in plat, but they're not a plat like defense you're going to see, and that's a problem. Okay, he did kill the Arbiter, but it took Soul Reap for it to happen. That sucks. That's a bummer. Arbiter is not a tanky champion, typically. That is... Jesus. Okay, well, let's see how he does against Taurus and Marichka. Okay, let's get an idea here of what he does against these guys. Maybe this will go better, right? Right? And keep in mind, like, we're using Necrit to protect him. We'll see if we can just go ahead and kill the Kymar. Sure. No problem. We'll strip off the Ward of the Fallen so we get a better test of his damage. Again, like, that's not a well-built Siphi, guys. You could tell by the health bar, it's not well-built. And he wasn't able to kill her without Soul Reap. And on top of that, he did basically no damage to Taurus. Man. I don't think there was a reaction proc there, was it? I mean, I don't think I missed a reaction proc. Let's see if maybe the A3 does better. Okay, A3 on Taurus. Okay, all of the damage went into killing Taurus. Basically, nothing was left to kill Marichka. I don't have faith that this is a super tanky team, so I'm still not impressed with what he's done. Cool that he managed to kill Taurus. That's a win. But I don't think this is a very tanky Taurus. Not based off the damage that I saw earlier. So let's see if we can get a really high tier plat team after this and see what he can do. Or see what he can't do, I should say. It would be a better way to put it. I built him so slow right now as well, which is a bummer. Okay, shut down again. That's good. Let's get a Seraphic Wave here, which should kill these guys, I would imagine. Should be an easy kill, hopefully. Right? Fingers crossed. We've even got a weaken buff up. All right, we did it. We did it. We got it. Okay, let's see if we can get a strong team. We're not at the end of the week, so we don't have like super end game teams out here. But let's see if we can find one that's solid. Ethan usually has some decent stuff, so I think we could roll with Ethan. It is a Taurus, Marichka, and an Arbaeus team. Holy smokes, super high resist on this team. So maybe not as tanky as some others potentially. but should be a lot of resist and built-in stone skin. So this will be a good test overall of his damage. So they did resist. Okay. Let's get the Seraphic Wave. Okay, we critted on everybody. You know, obviously you're not going to do damage on them. Okay damage over here. No reaction procs, nothing great. Did get a Ward of the Fallen though, so obviously we're getting a little bit of damage reduction there, so that might explain some of that. I think it's a horrible idea, but let's go for it. I mean, to be fair, it's very hard. It's very hard to kill Taurus. Even Georgia can sometimes struggle with that. So, you know, it's to be expected. Like, Taurus is not an easy guy to take down. But again, I'm not seeing anything that screams like mythical quality champion, right? Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to beat this team. I do not think we're going to be able to pull this off. Let's go auto. Well, that was a bad idea. The second you go auto against Taurus and Marichka, suddenly your team just goes absolutely haywire. Bummer that he's getting the decreased attack, but actually it doesn't really matter because he gets rid of it. That is actually nice. He's not going to survive if I do this. This is a bad affinity matchup, but yeah, okay. Ah, man. Jeez. Oh, jeez. Well, he tried. he freaking tried. I mean, look, to be fair to our boy here, it is very tough for most heroes to deal with these two champions. They are, as we all know, absurdly broken, extremely overpowered with very few counters. But I don't know. Call me crazy. Nice that he blocked the damage there, though, so at least we get a chance to, like, come back here. Just no damage. He's so close to being a good hero. He's so close to being good. He needs better modifiers or some type of increased damage ability on some of his stuff to start with. Like, let's start with that. And he needs his first form to be his second form and his second form to be his first form. And if you had those two things, then he's actually a great champion. Then he's like, yeah, SIEGFRUND, that's a mythical, bro. That's a mythical. But he has none of that. He has none of it. And he's underwhelming as a result. He doesn't do a lot of damage. He isn't going to be someone you use in arena. I mean, like, we can see now he's getting his stuff back, which is nice. So again, this is a great ability, but why the hell do I have to hope that they kill everybody else as opposed to him? Anyone that with a brain, if you're playing him in live arena, is going to kill him first. You know, he'll block damage for one turn, sure. And he'll block incoming damage that go around. But he also gets his turn right away, so that block damage buff doesn't matter as much because he's going to go right away, potentially. And again, this is a great ability. I love this revive, but it's in the wrong order. He can't even access it unless it just so happens to happen. You just have no control. I can't fathom why Plarium would do this. Why make him like this? The cleanse and the heal ended up being not bad, so at least he's keeping us alive. Better than I thought. You know, his support form is definitely better than I thought. It's also being protected by Necrit. But I want the control, right? Like, I want the ability to choose when to go into this. I want to be able to say, yes, let me roll with this. Did I get a cooldown on this? I must have cooled down on this since I just did it. It's a horrible idea, but let's see what kind of damage he does. I mean, it's okay. It's not great. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he heals you by that damage, but it's not like super good damage to heal you by. Oof, this is a long fight. This really just goes to illustrate the level of insanity when it comes to these champs. Okay, nice thing about this, we get to, well, I'm just gonna say we get to get rid of that. All right, he's done. I'm not even gonna sit through this. Let's do one more test against a non-Taurus Marichka team just to see. Tanky team, non-Taurus Marichka. Sure, we can work with this. We got a Harima here. Bad affinity matchup. But at least this should be hopefully tanky. Again, 2 bad affinity matchups. All right. Increased attack. I kind of want to see if he can just kill through this. Again, it's not ignoring defense, so yeah, I mean, at least he did kill, but no real damage to speak of to anybody else. Okay. And again, I've built him pretty slow. Like he's definitely not meta speed. Like nowadays you're building everybody faster for the most part. All right, he killed the Harima. Nice. So that's good. Got his turn back relatively fast. So I guess you could hypothetically justify building him slower because he has that ability to get back around. Okay, we did get the Marichka. Basically no bonus damage. Problem with this A3 is like it takes all the damage in order to actually kill any of these champions. You need all the damage in order to make it work. So unless you've got someone like really low like this, he's not going to really do much else to anybody else. Like he's not going to get the bonus damage to do anything. And again, like when I look at champions nowadays, I try to compare and contrast them to other champs. Look at Sung Wukong. Sung Wukong can take your champion from full health to nothing and nuke the rest of your team afterwards because he gets ignore defense on that damage afterwards. Even though it can't be a critical, he's getting ignore defense on the initial hit. He's getting ignore defense on the second hit. That's the surplus damage. And he's a free champion. Like that's God, that is what is so frustrating right now with some of these champions is that like this is somebody you might pull. You might pull this guy. You go for a mythical shard. And look at me. I pulled 3 of this guy already. And you're not excited. You're bummed. You're sad to pull this dude. You're not stoked. You're not hyped. You're frustrated. And the thing is it's avoidable. It's avoidable. Because again, he's close to being good. He is close. He's just not there. I mean, I guess we have to hope that he gets buffed, but I don't know what the likelihood of that is given what we've seen over the last year. I mean, what a shame. What a shame, man. All right, final verdict. I think SIEGFRUND, I think the tier lists are right. I've seen him listed relatively low on a lot of tier lists. I've seen most people talk about how he is an underwhelming champion. I 1000% agree. He just doesn't do enough damage. He doesn't do enough damage, and he has no control over his mythical form, and the forms are in the wrong order. Way to fix this champion? Make his attack form his second form so he actually has cooldown, essentially countering like the other really good mythicals. And for the love of God, boost his damage. Boost his damage. He needs something on the A2 and he needs something else on the A3. He just can't compete. I'm not going to be using him in Live Arena. We'll put it like that. Not in the current form. So there you go. There's it's disappointing. You know what I mean? I was hoping to be proven wrong from what I thought going in, but I got to call it like I see it, guys. And unfortunately, he's just not great. Looks cool. Really wish you were, usable. He looks great, but oh well. Such is life. Let me know what you guys think. I mean, do you disagree with me? Do you agree with me? I don't know. To me, I think it's pretty cut and dried. He's not getting it done for me, but I'm also a super endgame player, so my standards might be different than yours. So let me know down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. More content coming. If you haven't subbed and liked the channel, think about that if you enjoy what I make. And otherwise, I'll see you on the next one, and I'll probably see you in live arena till then. All right, Big Papa Drock out.